All right, John Deal will be joining us here in a moment to recap what's going on. The last half hour or so has been quite interesting, Kelly Jackson. Senator Maria Chappelle Nadell has called. We talked to her. She said she wants McCullough to step down or Governor Nixon to take over. Robert McCullough, we talked to him. He said Nixon needs to man up, and that when Nixon's asked the question whether or not he's going to support McCullough or not, that according to Robert McCullough, it's been a classic Nixon doublespeak, and he hasn't said anything. Mm-hmm. He either wants him to tell him to take over the grand jury case or don't take over. He says, one way or the other, you're in or you're out. None of this, who knows what you're saying there.
And it's interesting. You asked him also, when was the last time they actually spoke to each other?
Right.
Which was it last week?
It was Wednesday. So it would have been Wednesday, at some point Wednesday. He said, but before the news conference where he said that the State Highway Patrol was taking over, but didn't declare a state of emergency, which is why he said he didn't have the authority for the state to take over unless he declared a state of emergency.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We have John Deal with us. John Deal is with us. He is House Majority Leader. Normally he's with us on the board meeting, but for all sorts of reasons, he can't join us today, but he joins us via phone. House Majority Leader, soon to be Speaker of the House, John Deal, good morning. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, good morning, McGraw.
You've had
an interesting day back home, huh?
It's been an interesting couple of days around here. You had a chance to listen to Robert McCullough and his comments. You're watching this. You're sit in a position of power. What are your thoughts as you watch all this develop?
Yeah, I really have two thoughts, particularly the development of the past 24 hours. I think the governor is playing a very dangerous game here, and really on two fronts. One, and I don't know if you talked about it yet on your show this morning, but the video, I think it's a somewhat bizarre video that he releases a video of this instead of standing up and taking questions on what his position is. But he released a video yesterday where he uses language like a teenager was shot in broad daylight. We need justice for the Brown family. We need to this police officer needs to be visibly prosecuted. Over the weekend, he was on some shows using words like gunned down in the streets. Okay? This man has extraordinary executive authority due to the state of emergency. Okay? And needs to speak much more responsibly. And if he's going to make statements like that, he needs to stand in front of the press and be questioned as to why he says that. Broad daylight. Well, what does that mean? Is it different if it's at night versus in the day? It makes no sense. Where he's out there inflaming the situation on the ground at the same time they're supposed to be quieting down. That's number one. Number two, this lack of a decision being made on who is prosecuting this case is disturbing. The governor and his team have had control of this situation now for 5 or 6 days through a state of emergency, which I supported and I still support because I think it requires somebody to be in charge to get order on the ground. But part of that becomes a solemn and serious responsibility on exercising that authority and being a leader. Okay, so they've had 5 or 6 days now to evaluate how this case is being prosecuted, how the investigation is going. Okay, and the governor is talking out of both sides of his mouth. He needs to come out and either publicly express confidence that Bob McCullough and his office will do a good job, or he needs to remove him. You can't say stuff, and I heard Bob's interview, and Bob is exactly right. By using language like Bob has to recuse himself, is dodging the issue. Okay? The governor is dodging this issue, and he needs to come out and say, based upon what I know, Bob will do a good job, and we fully support him, and let's let the process play out, or he needs to take control of the situation, okay, and replace him. But the worst possible outcome would be to come out, let this grand jury go down a path that, because of these inflammatory prejudgment statements, okay, leads to more problems or issues down the line, like what happened, the Rodney King situation or whatever, when someone was acquitted or not charged, and then have this all inflame and then come in and say, well, we're going to appoint another prosecutor to look at this again. That would be the real travesty here. So it's time to have some leadership. It's time to come out of the cocoon, get out there, get in front of the cameras, start answering questions and explaining where you are.
Do you think, John Deal, you're an attorney, you're House Majority Leader, you're the Speaker in waiting, do you feel that Governor Nixon is undermining Bob McCullough by not either endorsing him and or taking it away? This sort of standing on the fence, as you call it, is he undermining the whole process?
He's I wouldn't go so far as saying underlying McCullough, because I just don't know anything about their relationship or history. Now, I do know Bob is one of the most experienced prosecutors in the state. Okay, he has prosecuted hundreds, if not thousands, of cases involving, gun violence and other things similar to this. So, in fact, there's probably nobody in the state that's more experienced as far as being a prosecutor. But what the governor's doing is undermining the process. Okay, and there's a process in place. Remember, this governor was Attorney General for 16 years. He knows darn well what he did yesterday in that video. Okay, he knows darn well that undermines the process by having a chief executive and someone who's Attorney General for 16 years get up and make statements like gun down in broad daylight, justice for the Brown family, vigorously prosecute this case before one scrap of evidence was presented to a grand jury.
Just so we're all clear, and because we're in some heady times here. Governor Nixon commented to the Post. He put out a statement last night. Bob McCullough says he didn't say anything. You're agreeing with Robert McCullough saying he didn't say anything. He didn't give him support or say I'm going to take it. He's in sort of no man's land.
And his job with the extraordinary executive powers he has, part of having power and authority is demonstrating leadership and giving the public confidence in the process that is before you. Okay? And the governor needs to come out and either say, I have confidence that this gentleman will do the job he's supposed to do. Not like, well, the voters elected him 24 times, and if he wants to recuse himself, I'll listen. No. Governor, does Bob McCullough have your confidence that he will do a good job, or tell us who does have your confidence? Let's do this right the first time. Get out of your cocoon and talk about it.
John Deal, when was the last time you had a conversation with Governor Nixon?
Well, I've had one conversation with a staff member since this started, and this was after the press conference up in Ferguson last week. The governor has never, the other day they tried to organize a telephone call with statewide elected officials and with legislative leadership. We were told we were not allowed to ask any questions. We were told we were not allowed to speak on that telephone call, and got on the call nonetheless to hear what the governor had to say. And about after a minute and a half of the governor talking, the call was dropped from his end due, I guess I was told, due to some bad cell phone service. And since that time, we've never heard from the governor again. So
during this whole crisis, you've had a minute and a half conversation with him in which you were not allowed to ask any questions.
Correct.
All right. That's John Deal, sitting House Majority Leader and soon-to-be Speaker of the House. John Deal, thank you for your time. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
You got it. 828 here, Big 550, KTRS. Well, there you have it. So you've got Robert McCullough telling the governor, you did not give me a vote of confidence. Either give me a vote of confidence or take it away, but you can't sit on the fence. And House Majority Leader and soon-to-be Speaker of the House, John Deal, basically agreeing with Robert McCullough, saying that Governor Nixon is undermining the process by, one, using inflammatory comments, not only here but on national TVs, Meet the Press, and some of these other places. One, but then two, not giving the full support behind Robert McCullough because we're in this extraordinary circumstances because he declared the state of emergency. He has these broader executive powers, and many people in the community are calling for Robert McCullough not to do this, and Charlie Dooley calling for a special prosecutor. All these other people saying, no, he can't do it, and it's time for the governor, these two are saying, to make a decision. Either support Robert McCullough or don't support him.
It just looks bad all around for, to have the governor going back and forth, and it's just so political.
It is political. Meanwhile, you have you have a community in riot gear. You have the national media looking at this. You have police officers injured. You have one dead teenager, and you have a policeman's life in the balance. This is real world stuff going on here, and two leaders in the state are calling for Governor Nixon to make a decision on it.
And you have a grand jury right now who's going to be convening soon,
Right.
if not already, looking over evidence.
8:30 KTRS.
The most dangerous